Check out my Patreon page, James Dobinson Audiobooks, for loads more stories, including Harry Potter, David Walliams, Jacqueline Wilson, and loads more. Feel free to check it out now. Chapter 10. I didn't know what to do. I wondered about running after her, but I knew Mum would be so cross if we left the wallpaper half stripped. I couldn't blame her. It did look very ugly with tatters hanging everywhere. I carried on for 5 minutes, scraping, picking, pulling. It was so much worse doing it all by myself. I felt more and more worried about Jodie. Maybe she'd be furious with me for not following her. I couldn't stand the rare times when she was in a sulk with me. I flung my scraper down and went running after her, hoping she might be mooching about just outside the back door. There was no sign of her. I looked all around the back courtyard, then right round the front of the house. I still couldn't see her. "Jodie," I called. "Jodie!" There was no answer. There was no point running all over the grounds when I had no clear idea where she'd be. I ran back to the house, thudding along the gravel path, and then in through the back door. I wondered if she'd somehow crept back inside. She might be there in our bedroom, waiting for me. But the room was empty, looking uglier than ever. I felt like bursting into tears. I squeezed my eyes shut. "Don't be such a baby," I whispered to myself. I picked up the scraper and started all over again. "I'll show her," I muttered. "Why should I feel so bad? She's the one who's being mean. Mean, mean, mean. Why should I always do what she says just because she's my sister?" I scraped and scraped and scraped. I felt as if I was scraping myself free of Jodie. I told my Kezia story to myself. Poor Kezia was feeling miserable because Pansy was mean to her, making her do half her work as well as her own. I scraped with renewed vigour, and when I'd got the last little shred of wallpaper off, I squatted down in the soft, damp, crinkled mound. I drew a tiny pencil portrait of Kezia, looking forlorn in her ugly uniform, her dress drooping down to her ankles, her boots much too big and sticking out sideways. Then I heard footsteps and jumped up hopefully, but it was Mum. I dropped the pencil on the floor and sat in front of my tiny drawing. "Good heavens, what a mess," said Mum, kicking the wallpaper with her toe. "Still, you've done a magnificent job, girls." She looked around. "Where's Jodie?" She's just gone out for a little while," I said. "Well, I'm dishing up lunch at 1 sharp, said Mum. "Right, dear, I'll find you some black plastic rubbish bags and you can pick all the wallpaper up. We'll speak to Dad about that emulsion. What colour would you like? A nice sugar pink?" "Pink's too little girly," I said. "You are a little girl," said Mum. "No, I'm not. I'm nearly 11. "Oh, yes, practically middle-aged." "Don't laugh at me, Mum." "Well, honestly, Pet, don't you grow up too soon. I don't know how I'm going to cope when there are 2 teenagers in the house. What do you want for your birthday, dear? Come on, anything you like." "Books." "You always choose books. Can't you think of something else? Give it some thought. Now, I'm going to put the veg on. I've got 2 lovely big dishes of toad in the hole coming along nicely. You be in the dining room by 1 o'clock, okay?" I stuffed the wallpaper into the plastic bags, even clearing up the last shreds with a dustpan and brush. Then I went through our flat, along the dark corridor and into the steamy kitchen. Mum was hovering over the pans on the range, red in the face. "Where's Jodie?" "She's just coming," I said. I wanted to be in the dining room early so I could maybe have a minute or 2 with Harley. I was there too early. I wandered up and down the empty room, round and round each table and bench, wondering what it would be like when all the children were there. These magic summer holidays wouldn't last forever. The school would be crowded with strangers at the start of term. I'd been so excited at the idea of living in such a beautiful Gothic mansion as Melchester that I hadn't thought properly about the children. I'd read the Harry Potter books, but obviously the pupils wouldn't be trainee wizards. I'd had a hazy picture of jolly girls playing tricks on the French mistress and having midnight feasts. I hadn't got as far as imagining boys. Harley was totally unexpected. What would the other boys be like? I didn't mind little boys like Zeph and Dan, but I hated big boys. I'd once seen on an old film of Tom Brown's school days on the television. Tom was horribly bullied. He'd even been hooked above the open fire and roasted like a rack of lamb. I stared at the big fireplace at the end of the room. The grate was full of pine cones. It didn't look as if it was ever lit, which was a relief. I wondered if Harley was bullied at all. He was so tall he'd tower over all the other boys, but he was also very thin and spindly. I wasn't sure he'd be much use in a tussle or an outright fight. Maybe he kept to himself, hiding away from trouble like a badger. I thought about that magical shared moment, shutting my eyes to see the strange nighttime animal standing still in the moonlight. I felt bad not telling Jodie, but Harley was right. She couldn't keep quiet and still for more than a few seconds. Besides, she'd been mean to me, very mean, leaving me to strip all the wallpaper myself. My arm and shoulders ached and I had blisters on my fingers and thumb. I felt proud of myself. I swung my arms around and around to ease the ache, and then felt foolish because Miss Ponsonby and the 3 little children were filing silently into the dining room and saw me doing my windmill impressions. Zeph laughed at me. Dan copied me, flinging his own arms about, and his legs too. Sakura simply stood still, blinking timidly. She was wearing an old-fashioned smock dress that was much too big for her. The short sleeves hung like bells past her sharp little elbows, and the skirt hem brushed the top of her white socks. She looked pathetic, but her small hands were stroking the soft cloth proudly. "That's a lovely dress, Sakura," I said. "Don't you look pretty?" She smiled radiantly, her big black eyes glowing. "My daddy sent it to me. It's my new summer dress," she said proudly. "You're very lucky," I said. I paused. "Are you going to see your daddy this summer?" "Oh no, he's in Tokyo," said Sakura, as if it was a different planet altogether. "I haven't got a daddy," said Dan, making his transparent man walk along the tabletop. "Have you got a mummy?" I asked. "I don't think so," said Dan. "I have a granny, but she's not very well." "I've got a mummy, and I've got a different daddy now, and I've got to stay at school until I'm a good boy," said Zeph. "I'm bad." "I think you're a very good boy," I said. "I'm not. I threw paint on the floor, didn't I, Undy?" "I think it was an accident," said Miss Ponsonby kindly. "It wasn't," Zeph muttered. "I just felt like doing it." Miss Ponsonby chose not to hear him. She settled the 3 children on the bench. I poured them all glasses of water, which they lapped at furiously, like camels. Dad came strolling in, his tool belt dragging on his hips like a gun holster. Zeph and Dan clamoured for his attention, wanting to see his hammer and chisel and screwdriver. Dad let them pull them out of their pouches. Zeph immediately started hammering the table, while Dan aimed the screwdriver at him like a gun, going bang, bang. "I think they're too little for real tools, Mr. Wells," said Miss Ponsonby, wrenching them out of their fists. "I'll see if I can find you some plastic tools, boys," said Dad. "Didn't you used to have a toy set, Pearl?" "I don't want a toy hammer, I want a real one," said Zeph. "I want a real gun, and then I could really shoot you," said Dan. Now, that's not very nice," said Mum, coming into the dining hall with the first trayful of food. She raised her eyebrows at Miss Ponsonby. "Kids, eh?" she said. Then she looked around. "Where's our Jodie?" Jodie burst into the room, hanging on Harley's arm. Mr. Wilberforce and Miss French and Jed were with them. Jodie muttered something, and they all burst out laughing. "Oh dear, we've been keeping you waiting, Mrs. Wells," said Miss French. "That's quite all right," said Mum stiffly. "Blame it on me, please," said Mr. Wilberforce. "Me and my hibiscus. I had young Harley here, clipping away, and Jodie sweetly came to lend a hand. Then Frenchy strolled along to see what we were up to, and that dratted mutt of hers ran riot, knocking the step-ladder over and chasing all through my flower beds." "I'm so sorry, Harold," said Miss French. "It's appalling. I simply can't get him to behave." "Jodie had the devil of a job catching him, didn't you, my dear?" Mr. Wilberforce nodded at Mum. "She's a sparky kid, your Jodie." Mum smiled and fiddled with the hot plates on the trolley. Mr. Wilberforce sat down, breathing in appreciatively. "Something smells totally delicious. What are you spoiling us with today?" Mum lifted the lid of her big serving dish with a flourish. "Oh my, toad in the hole, what joy!" said Mr. Wilberforce. "How totally gorgeous," said Miss French, smacking her lips together. They sounded so over the top I wondered if they were teasing Mum, but she took their compliments at face value. "I've always had a light touch with my Yorkshire pudge," she said proudly. "So, the brown bits are toad, are they?" said Jed. "Do you roast them or fry them?" Mum knew he was teasing, and gave them a quick rap on his knuckles with her serving spoon. Jodie and Harley came over to my bench. I turned to Sakura and started complimenting her on her dress all over again. I saw Jodie sit right up at the other end of the table. She still had a firm hold of Harley. My friend Harley, the first real friend I'd ever had. "Hey, sit down, Harley. I'm starving, aren't you?" My mum's toad in the hole isn't bad nosh, actually. But isn't there anywhere around here where you can get decent food? Chips and pizza and stuff. Don't you get McDonald's in the country? "There's a chip van on Friday night in Melchester Village, but that's 2 miles away," said Harley. "Oh, wow. Wild nightlife. A chip van once a week," said Jodie. "Pity you haven't got a real Harley. We could be out of here like a shot." "Yeah, like I'm old enough to have a motorbike licence," said Harley. "You're so tall, lots of people would think you're 16 or 17, said Jodie. It was almost as if she was flirting with him. It was so mean of her. She didn't even like him that much. She carried on chatting, quieter now, so I couldn't hear what they were saying. I chewed a piece of sausage over and over again, unable to swallow. Harley was probably telling her about the Badgers right this minute. He was obviously fed up with me already. He had Jodie for a new best friend. I spat a mouthful of sausage gristle into my hanky. I fed the rest of my meal to Zep. Sakura wasn't eating hers either, prodding her sausages gingerly, as if they might leap up and croak at her. They're not real toads, I said. I know, said Sakura, but she still inspected each one, on the lookout for bulbous eyes and warts. Dan got tired of eating halfway too, and took his man for a hike up his mashed potato mountain. Come on, eat up nicely, children, or you won't get any pudding, said Mum, bustling past. It's Spotted Dick and custard. Jodie and Harley cracked up laughing. Mum glared at them and patted me on the back. Eat up, chickie. You've worked really hard this morning. Good girl. She was treating me as if I was one of the little ones. I behaved like one too, messing around with my food, squashing it all up to make it look smaller. Mum sighed and tutted at me. I couldn't even eat the silly Spotted Dick dish either. I just sat and stared at it. Hey, don't you want your pudding, Pearl? Harley called. I shook my head. Can I have it then? Your mum's a brilliant cook, said Harley. I pushed the plate towards him. I pushed a little too hard, so that the full plate nearly whizzed straight past and launched itself into mid-air like a flying saucer, but he caught hold of it in time. Here, have mine too, Harley, said Jodie. Hey, roll up, watch the incredible hurling Harley eat 3 puddings in one go, and then he'll explode, custard sprouting from every orifice, Spotted Dick spattering everything in sight. Harley waved his spoon in the air and galloped and golloped the pudding in 3 mouthfuls. God, you're incredible. I'd have to walk bent for a week if I noshed that lot, said Jodie. You'll have to walk it off. Let's take old Shep for a long walk, eh? You take him. I'm busy this afternoon, said Harley. Doing what? Said Jodie. Doing my stuff, said Harley. OK, suit yourself, said Jodie. She got up off the bench and nodded her head at me. Come on, Pearl. She had such a nerve. Come on what? I said. Come on, let's take old Shep for a long walk. She frowned at me. You're not really scared of him, are you? He won't hurt you. He'll just lick you to bits. I'm not the slightest bit scared of him, I lied, but I don't want to go for a long walk. I'm tired after stripping the wallpaper from our bedroom. Jodie stood staring at me. Then she shrugged. OK, Miss Goody-Goody Two-Shoes, I'll take old Shep for a walk by myself. I'll come, said Zeph. I'd much sooner walk old Shep than do more sploshy old painting. Miss Ponsonby didn't object. Maybe she was glad to be free of him for a bit. She took Sakura and Dan off with her. Jodie went off with Miss French to collect old Shep. What are you going to do, Pat? Dad said to me. Mum says you've made a grand job of your bedroom. You have a think what colour you want it painted, though you'll have to wait a bit. I've got that many jobs to do. That's OK, Dad. I'll read for a bit, I said. You and your books, said Dad. I went down the hall towards the kitchen. I think Harley might have called after me. I didn't turn around. I went to my room. The stripped wall looked very bare and ugly, with scrape marks all over it. I felt sore and scraped too. I lay face down on my bed, trying not to worry about Jodie. I didn't see why I had to run after her and take that scary werewolf for a walk, especially when she'd been so mean about the room. She was the one who should be feeling bad, not me. Everyone always said I should stand up to her, not let her boss me around so much. I'd done just that. But now maybe she'd stay cross with me. I dreaded it when she went all sulky and wouldn't talk to me. I hated it that she'd talk to Harley all lunchtime. Jabber, jabber, whisper, whisper, chuckle, chuckle. They were probably laughing about me. I didn't want to think about it. I sat up and reached for Mrs. Wilberforce's copy of The Secret Garden. I couldn't concentrate for a page or two, but then I got sucked into the story. I read solidly for more than an hour, lost in Misselthwaite Manor with Mary. Then I started glancing at my alarm clock, wondering when Jodie was coming back. She'd said she'd take old Shep for a long walk. Surely this was a very, very long walk. Mum was concerned too. She put her head around the bedroom door. Where's that sister of yours? I don't know, Mum. I want her back here where I can keep an eye on her. She's running wild already. What do you think she's up to now? I don't know, Mum. I'd send your dad after her, but he's busy banging a banister back into place. Dear, dear. Might be grand, but I'm telling you, the whole place is falling to bits, Pearl. Do get your head out of that book. You'll strain your eyes. I'm fine, Mum. No, you're not. You're all red-eyed and frowny. Look, you nip out and see if you can spot your sister. You can get a bit of fresh air at the same time. Oh, Mum, I don't know where to look. Don't be so wet. Just trot up the lane to Miss French's house. I'm sure our Jodie will be hanging around there, and you can always pop in on Mrs. Wilberforce. Tell her you're enjoying her book. No, Mum. Yes. I'm too shy. Don't be so soppy. Think how horrible it must be for poor Mrs. Wilberforce, stuck in that wheelchair of hers, unable to get out and about and see folk. You go and have a little chat with her. Please don't make me. Can't I just stay here? I begged. Oh, for pity's sake. I've got one daughter who clears off Lord knows where, while the other one wants to hide away in her bedroom all day, moulding. Mum gave me a light tap on my bottom. Come on, up you get and do as I say. Chop, chop. So I got up and set off, clutching The Secret Garden to my chest. I went past the outbuildings and then turned down the sandy lane, trees crowding in on either side. There was no sign of Jodie and old Shep. I didn't feel brave enough to go and bang on Miss French's door. I rehearsed what to say inside my head. I even rehearsed what I was going to say to old Shep. "Here, boy, there's a good boy, down, boy," in a firm, friendly voice so he wouldn't bite me. I was trembling by the time I knocked on the door. It was a waste of time anyway, because no one was in. I thought of going to Mrs. Wilberforce's bungalow, as Mum had suggested, but that seemed scary too. I wasn't at all sure what to say to her. I was only halfway through the secret garden anyway, so I didn't want to swap it just yet. I wandered along to her house all the same. I even tiptoed up the garden path and breathed in the sweet jasmine scent. I put my hand out, but didn't knock at the door. Her house was very silent. Maybe she was having a rest after lunch. If so, it would be unkind to disturb her. I'd come back tomorrow or the day after, whenever I'd finished the book. I backed down the path again and started trailing back to the school. I decided to find a quiet little grassy patch to tuck myself away where I could read my book. I tried to remember where the badger set had been. I got about halfway down the lane before I'd had to rush off to have a wee. I was sure it was the left-hand side somewhere. I wandered in and out of the trees, peering around every likely bush, when I suddenly stumbled, tripping over Harley's leg. He was lying on his stomach, stretched out in a long line, reading his book. I gasped, but managed not to scream, because I saw the badger set behind him. He smiled at me. "Hi," he said quietly. "Don't look so worried, like you're Little Red Riding Hood and I'm the big bad wolf." "Sorry," I said foolishly. "You'll think I'm stalking you or something. I'll leave you alone. I know you've got stuff to do. You need some peace." I said that to Jodie. "Come on, keep me company. I don't think we'll see any badgers. They're mostly nocturnal, but we could get really lucky. One time I saw a mother with a cub." "Oh, I want to see a baby one too," I said, squatting down beside him. "Typical girl," said Harley, but he was just teasing. We sat together, staring at the dark entrance to the badger set. We waited expectantly. Nothing happened. "I wish we could magic ourselves small enough to walk in," I whispered. "I wish I could magic myself small, full stop," said Harley. "Oh no, it's great to be tall because..." I tried desperately to think of something. "You can reach things." This sounded so limp that Harley laughed at me. As in, "Oh dear, we've kicked our ball on the roof. Let's send for Harley the human crane to reach it for us." Or, "Oh dear, the giraffe's got an itch on his head. Let's send for Harley the human crane to scratch it for him." I suggested. "Nice one. Okay. Oh dear. The weathercock stopped spinning on the church spire. Let's send for Harley the human crane to twirl it for us." Not bad. What about, "Oh dear, King Kong's jumping about on top of the Empire State Building. Let's send Harley the human crane to snatch him off," I said. We played the game until we were snorting with laughter, our hands over our mouths so as not to alarm the dozing badgers. Then we reversed it, and I was Pearl the mouse child, scampering in and out of burrows and rescuing dropped coins and diving in and out of cat flaps. "You'll be like a little borrower," said Harley. "Have you read that book? It's great. You'd love it, Pearl." He looked at the lovely old copy of The Secret Garden. "Is that from Mrs. Wilberforce?" "Hey, it's a first edition. You better be extra specially careful with it. Put on your kid gloves before turning each page." He started reading a few paragraphs and then swapped back to his own hardy book. He lay on his stomach again. I hunched up beside him, leaning against the mossy bank. The sun came through the leaves of the trees and shone warmly on us, making my skin glow. It gently dappled the pages of my book, so I undid my hair and let it swing forward like a curtain, shading it. "You've got lovely hair, Pearl. You should always wear it loose like that," said Harley, looking up. He went back to his book, frowning a little as he read, but every now and then he glanced up and gave me a grin. I smiled back shyly, as warm inside as out, feeling happy. Then I went back to Misselthwaite Manor and wheeled Colin to the secret garden while the robin flew over our heads. A real bird sang on a branch above us, and when it flew off, I was sure its chest was red. I felt as if I was straddling two worlds at once, not quite sure what was real and what was imaginary. I'd stepped into a real world better than any fantasy. I hoped the badger would come and peer at us. I especially longed to see the baby badger. I imagined it scampering out on little legs, pink snout quivering in the sudden sunlight. It stayed tucked up in its set. I knew I should be getting back to my home. Mum would have long since started panicking. She fussed enough when Jodie went missing, but she went into full-scale shrieking alarm alert if I ever disappeared. But I sat where I was, beside Harley, savouring every second of my happiness. When I went back at last, Mum was in tears again, and I felt dreadful. I didn't tell her I'd been with Harley. I didn't exactly lie. I just said I'd gone looking in vain for Jodie, and then sat reading my book. Jodie had long since returned and was now off again, supposedly gardening. Though it beats me why she's so keen to work with Mr. Wilberforce in the garden, when your dad and I could badly do with a helping hand. What is it about this gardening? Our Jodie's never so much as planted a bulb in her life. I was pretty sure Jodie still didn't care about planting or pruning, or even Mr. Wilberforce. She just wanted to hang out with Jed the gardener. She still seemed to be steering clear of me, but when I went back to our bedroom, I found Kezia, the kitchen maid, had company. There was a little pencil drawing of Pansy the parlour maid standing beside her. She had a speech bubble saying, "Kezia is just like a sister to me, and she'll always be my best friend, no matter what." Chapter 11. Dad drove Mum and Jodie and me into Guildford the next morning. It was Melchester's nearest town. Melchester Village only had one general store. Dad needed to buy any number of items from a DIY shop, and Mum needed new kitchen equipment, so it was an official trip. Jodie and I went along for the ride. It was a long ride, a good 20 miles or more. The town itself was a shock, with its ugly concrete car park and shabby 1970s shopping centre. It was really only one high street with a few smaller streets leading off it, but it seemed like a huge city centre after the isolation of Melchester. Dad parked the car and we wandered around a little, aimless and dazed, before Mum got us organised. Jodie wanted to go off and find a McDonald's, but Mum wouldn't let her. "We're all going to stick together. I've had enough of you girls wandering off. We'll have to get them reins, like toddlers. That way we'll drag them around with us all the time," said Dad. "Now, where do you think the B&Q might be?" He found an old-fashioned hardware shop instead, and spent ages happily fingering nails and screws and locks, ordering all sorts of stuff. We chose the paint for our bedroom quickly enough. Mum wanted us to pick pink or pale primrose or light blue. We groaned in unison and decided on deep purple. "But it'll look so dark," Mum said. "You want something fresh and light and pretty for a bedroom." "Let the girls choose what they want," said Dad. "And you can choose what you'd like for our room. Shaz, any colour, even shocking pink." Mum chose china blue and picked out chintzy white curtains decorated with little blue 18th century people in the fabric shop down the road. "It's a French design, so classy," she said. She wanted us to pick something similar, but Jodie found a roll of cheap black velvet. "You can't have black, Jodie, and that isn't even curtain material, you noodle." "It'll make glorious Gothic curtains, Mum. And look, we could have a black fur rug on the floor. It would look so great. Oh, please, please, please," Jodie begged. She lay on the fun fur rug, batting her eyelashes hopefully. "Now stop that. Get up. You can't have a whole new room full of stuff. We're not made of money," said Mum. "Couldn't I have that black rug as my birthday present?" I said. "You don't want black, Pearl. Maybe a nice white furry rug, or there's a pink one with a teddy." "Mum, I'm way too old for teddies," I said. "I'd like black, please." Mum eventually gave in. When we got back to Melchester College, Jodie and I started painting our room straight after lunch. Most of our stuff was still in boxes, so it was easy enough to pile them out of the way and cover our bed with an old sheet. We wore our oldest clothes too, but Mum still fussed, so Jodie had the brilliant idea of stripping off to our underwear. We were happily sloshing paint around in our knickers, both of us speckled all over in purple, when Mum came in, with Harley. Mum gasped, Harley groaned, I yelped, and Jodie roared with laughter. "For pity's sake, put your clothes on, girls. What are you thinking of?" Mum hissed, outraged. She bustled Harley out of the room so quickly he forgot to duck, bumped his head on the door frame. Jodie carried on laughing, staggering about, clutching her stomach. It was all right for her. She was wearing matching underwear for once, her black bra and little black briefs. She looked gorgeous. I looked awful in dreadful baggy big white pants. I wanted to die. "Come into the kitchen the minute you're decent," Mum called. "Oh God," I moaned. "I feel so awful. Harley saw my knickers." "Well, don't worry, Pearlie. They're hardly likely to inflame him," said Jodie, stepping into her jeans. "Hey, don't look so woebegone. It's funny." "No, it's not. It's the most embarrassing thing ever," I said. "I can't ever face him again." I threw myself on the bed, crawling under the cover. "So what are you going to do? Hibernate under your duvet? Don't be so daft. Come on, get dressed." Jodie threw my jeans and t-shirt at me, but I cowered where I was. "Idiot," she said, and went off whistling towards the kitchen. I lay on my bed, hands over my face, heart thudding. Then Mum came back into the bedroom. "Pearl, what are you doing, you silly girl? Get up," she said, tugging me out from under the duvet. "Come on, Harley and Jodie are eating my butterscotch cookies in the kitchen. You come and have some too." "I can't come," I said, starting to cry. "Don't be such a silly baby," said Mum. "Harley saw my knickers," I wailed. "Well, they're clean and they're perfectly decent. It doesn't really matter. You're only a little girl. It's much worse for Jodie, but she doesn't seem to care." "Typical," said Mum. "Now come on, Pearl. Stop making such a silly fuss." I had to do as she told me. I pulled on my clothes, tugging hard at my horrible knickers, shoved my feet into my sandals and then stomped after Mum into the kitchen. Harley and Jodie were sitting swinging their legs on the edge of the big table, eating their cookies. Jodie was wearing her high heels with her jeans. Harley's legs were so long they hovered an inch above the ground. He looked at me. I felt as if Mum's oven was switched on inside me. "Hey, Pearl, you're as red as my shoes," Jodie laughed. I could have hit her. Harley nodded at me. "Hi, Pearl," he mumbled. He was a little red too. "Sorry to burst in on you like that. I was just offering to help with your decorating. Not that I've ever done any, so I'm maybe not much cop at it." "You'll be great, Harley," Jodie interrupted. "You can do the ceiling. You won't need to bother with a stepladder." I wish Jodie wouldn't always tease him about his height. He made sarcastic ho-ho-ho noises, but it was an obvious effort. I suddenly stopped fussing so about making such a fool of myself and thought about Harley instead. "We'd love you to help, Harley," I said. "Don't worry, we don't really know what we're doing either." "Well, don't make too much of a mess," said Mum. "And for pity's sake, watch what you're doing. I don't want purple smears all over everywhere. Why ever did you have to pick purple? It's such a harsh colour." "You've got harsh girls, Mrs. Wells," said Harley. "They certainly keep me in line, especially Pearl. She's so fierce." Mum blinked at me, taking him seriously. "Yeah, too right," said Jodie. "She's been bullying me for years. Burly Pearly. Watch out, one kick from her little black patent shoe can send you flying." I stuck my tongue out at Jodie. "Hey, watch out. See the deadly venom sac in her pretty little neck. One strike of that pink tongue and you've had it. Dead within 5 seconds, said Jodie. "Stop being silly, girls," said Mum. "Would you like milk or juice with your cookies? Or maybe a cup of tea?" She looked at Harley. "I've got Earl Grey tea," she said proudly. "Thank you very much, Mrs. Wells," he said. "That would be lovely." Jodie rolled her eyes. "Coo, what's this Earl Grey, Mum?" she said, putting on a funny mock Cockney accent. "What do you mean, it's tea? What's up with good old PG Tips, eh?" Mum glared at her, sighing heavily. We drank our posh tea and ate our cookies and then set off to do more painting. "Are they your really old clothes, Harley?" Mum said doubtfully. They were too small for him, the jeans ankle high, but they were still bright blue, and his skimpy sweatshirt looked pristine. "Don't worry, Mum, Harley can strip down to his underpants like us," said Jodie. Mum's head jerked in horror. "Joke," said Jodie. "One day you'll go too far, young lady," said Mum. "Not far enough," Jodie muttered. We spent hours and hours peacefully painting. Jodie played her favourite CDs very loudly, singing along, painting in time to the music. She waggled her bum too, and did a little tap dance in her red shoes. Harley painted with great sure wide strokes, up and down, up and down. But when he came to the pencil drawings of Kezia and Pansy, he made a little purple arch around them. He bent right down and penciled in a gangling boy in livery, saying, "I am Frederick the footman. I am friends with Kezia." "And Pansy," said Jodie. "Yeah, OK. Well, write it in." Harley started writing. "And bossy boot, shouty pouty Pansy is my worst enemy," he said slowly, as if he was printing it. Jodie charged over indignantly, but saw he'd simply added, "and Pansy." Harley winked at me. I painted with careful, finicky little strokes. My hand was steadiest, so I painted right along the skirting board. Then I got my own box of paints and coloured Kezia and Pansy and Frederick in very carefully. We were nearly finished by the time Mum sounded the gong for tea. The smell of paint had made me feel a bit sick. But as soon as I sat down at the table between Harley and Jodie, I was suddenly ravenous. I wolfed down my tuna and sweet corn sandwich and my egg and tomato roll. I crunched all my carrot sticks. I slurped up my yoghurt. I golloped down my grapes. And I ate 3 of Mum's homemade cookies, oatmeal, chocolate and almond. "Well done, dear," said Mum, patting my shoulder as she passed. "It's lovely to see you with such a healthy appetite." Dan looked at me mournfully. "You could share your cookies with me," he said. He made his man stomp over to my empty plate. "Dan and me are still hungry. Feed us," Dan made him say in a funny, fierce voice. I fed them both pretend mouthfuls. No, we want real food," they insisted. "You'll have to ask my mum. I'm sure she'll give you more," I said. Dan blinked over at Mum in her white overall and checked trousers. "That's not your mum," he said, giggling. "That's Mrs. Wells, the new cook lady." "I know, but she's my mum as well," I said. "She's my mum too," said Jodie, giving the last cookie to Dan. Dan munched, considering. "She's my mum too, then," he said happily. Jodie laughed at him, but it made me want to cry. Imagine, poor little Dan thinking our mum is his mum, I said, when we were back in the bedroom, finishing off our beautiful purple room. Harley was still with us, doing the finicky overhead corners. "Perhaps she can be a communal mum," he said. "I'd like to appropriate her myself. She's very kind, very patient, and she makes excellent cookies." "You're nuts," said Jodie. "Our mum's a good cook, I grant you that, but she's ever so unkind and impatient." "Oh, Jodie, she's not," I said. She might seem like that to you because you drive her mad, said Harley. I'm sure she's sweet to Pearl. Everyone's sweet to Pearl, said Jodie. Even me. So what's your mum like, Harley? Don't be so nosy, Jodie, I said, though I badly wanted to know too. She's a cow, said Harley matter-of-factly. What? You mean she's horrid to you? She's always perfectly civil. In fact, she goes out of her way to take me out for posh lunches and gives me elaborate presents. But her heart isn't in it. I don't think she even has a heart. If she was transparent like Dan's man, you'd see a big empty space between her lungs and her liver. She doesn't love me, though she smarms all over me. I embarrass and irritate her. I don't think she's even loved any of her boyfriends. She stuck with this last one the longest, but then he's the richest. A shipping magnate, no less. Are you making this up, Harley? I asked uncertainly. Oh no, this is way too banal and boring. I could invent much better bad family backgrounds. There, look, I've painted that corner to perfection. I think my extremely expensive education is wasted. I'd be a brilliant painter and decorator. Is your stepfather horrible to you? I asked. Not particularly. He tried hard with me at first. He even took me to a football match. We sat in the manager's box, but I hate football. I haven't got a clue who any of the players are, so it was all a bit wasted on me. He still tried, though. He took me to cricket, which was like watching this purple paint dry, and he wanted me to take up basketball training because of my height. He just couldn't seem to get the fact that I'm not a sporty type. He only stopped trying when I stole his credit card. You did what? Said Jodie, eyes big. You didn't, I said. Yes, I did. Well, he's rich. He wasn't going to miss it, so I ordered all sorts of stuff online. Not even stuff I really wanted, mainly stuff for the sheer hell of it. I set myself a task of doing it alphabetically, so I ordered an apple tree and a whacking great Victorian bird cage and a set of china and 50 pairs of demand underpants. It was great fun. It took hours and hours, and then the stuff kept arriving for weeks. Did he know it was you? Oh, yes. So what did he do? He said I was warped and twisted and a stupid Burke, but he was more baffled than angry. My mum sent me to an extremely expensive psychiatrist, and I made up all these bizarre fantasies just to wind him up. Anyway, they couldn't work out why I was so mad or bad or whatever, so they sent me off to boarding school. Yeah, loads of parents do that, but how come you're here in the holidays? Jodie asked. Did they just, dump you? On the contrary, I dumped them, said Harley. I couldn't stand the idea of going home. Well, there isn't a home anymore. My ma's rented out her London flat. She and the money man are spending their summer on a bloody great yacht in the Greek islands. I get seasick in a rowing boat on the Serpentine, and even if I didn't, their uninterrupted company would make me puke. So I opted to stay put here. They could hardly contain their joy and delight. I think you're a bit cracked, said Jodie. I'd fancy life on a luxury yacht, wouldn't you, Pearl? I shrugged. It depends who with. Hey, pity you didn't make it right through to Y with your internet shopping, Harley. You could have bought your own yacht. Then we could sail around with you. We wouldn't make you puke, would we? Well, Pearl's okay. You'd maybe make me retch a little bit every now and then, said Harley. Cheek. Jodie took her paintbrush and dabbed it up at him, streaking his nose purple. Jodie? Harley dabbed her back, giving her a purple beard. Stop it, you two, I shrieked. They turned to me, and I ended up with 2 purple ears and a long purple streak in my hair. Oh, God, I didn't mean it to go in your hair, Pearl. I do hope it washes off, babe, said Jodie, looking worried. Still, purple's a cool colour. Maybe I should have a streak too. Do you think it would clash with the orange? Let's be the purple hairs. Come on, Harley, join the club. I'll paint your curls. It'll give you a punky kind of edge. Mum went crazy when she saw us. She sent Harley off and then scrubbed my ears with white spirit until I thought they would fall right off. She washed my hair with it too, sitting me in the bath and attacking me with a flannel as if I was a baby. She couldn't quite haul Jodie into the bath too, but she made her wash her own hair. Dad thought it funny, which made Mum even madder. When she left me alone at last, my ears were no longer purple. They were dark red, like raw meat. I put my hands over them, my head still ringing. I'm sorry, Pearl, said Jodie. She sat on my bed and gave me a cuddle. I know I started it. You always start it, I said, sighing. I know. I'm a meanie old sister. No wonder you're fed up with me. What makes you think I'm fed up with you? I said. Well, you just want to go around with old Harley, not Davidson now, said Jodie. No, I don't, I said, though I could feel myself going red. It's okay. He's okay in a weird, geeky kind of way. So what does it feel like to have a boyfriend? He's not my boyfriend, I said, going even redder. Yes, he is, you cheeky little squirt. I didn't have a boyfriend when I was 10. I'm very nearly 11, and he's not my boyfriend. He's just my friend. So what sex is he? He's a boy, right? So that makes him a boyfriend by my reckoning. And this from the girl who said not so long ago that she didn't ever want a boyfriend. You said it too. Yeah, well, I haven't got a boyfriend yet, though I'm working hard on Jed. You're joking, aren't you? Don't you think he's really good looking, said Jodie. Yes, but he's a grown-up, Jodie. So am I, nearly, said Jodie, unpinning her hair and shaking it out in a little red cloud around her head. Yes, exactly. You watch out, I said. I thought of Jed and his dark gypsy eyes and his wild hair and his swagger. I don't like him, Jodie. He's kind of creepy. He makes me go all shivery. He makes me go shivery too, said Jodie, running her fingers through her hair, pretending to act sexy. Stop it, I said, giving her a little push. You watch out. Don't do anything with him, will you? Like what, said Jodie. You know. Kiss him? I bet he's a seriously great snogger, said Jodie. She started kissing her own arm in a slurping sort of way, murmuring, Oh, Jed. Oh, Jed. You are bad, I said. No, you're the bad girl. At least I keep my clothes on when I'm around Jed. You're the girl who strips off and flashes her knickers at her boyfriend. I didn't mean to. Stop teasing me, I said, giving her another push. She pushed me back, and we ended up having a push and shove wrestling match on the bed. Jodie was stronger than me, but I managed to get one arm free and started tickling her. She creased up laughing, and we both rolled over and giggled like crazy, lying on our backs. Jodie took hold of my hand. You still love me best, though, don't you, Pearl? You know I'll love you best forever and ever, I said. Chapter 12. When we woke up, Mum was hanging our black velvet curtains at the window. Oh, Mum, have you made them already? I said, sitting up and hugging my knees. Well, I don't know who else would have been a fool enough to stay up till past midnight stitching away at the damn things. Black velvet. I never heard of such a thing. You could have made this room so fresh and pretty, and yet you've turned it into a funeral parlour, said Mum. OK, start mourning your little corpse daughters, said Jodie, crossing her hands on her chest and laying back on her bed. She rolled her eyes up and opened her mouth slightly, looking so alarmingly dead, I hit her with my pillow. Stop messing around, you pair of idiots, said Mum. There. Well, they drape nicely. I'll say that for them. You might as well have the black rug now, Pearl, to set them off. Is it still my birthday present? Well, part of it. I was thinking maybe you'd like a little party, said Mum, sounding hopeful. She'd always longed to give Jodie and me a proper girly party, where we wore pretty dresses and played old-fashioned games like musical bumps, pass the parcel, and ate sausages on sticks, and trifle and fairy cakes. Jodie had always been up for a party, especially her own, but she'd wanted to wear her jeans and play murder and eat takeaway pizzas. The last time she'd had a party, she'd started a mad game of football in the living room and broken Mum's Ladro China lady. That put an end to Jodie's parties. Mum had tried hard to encourage me along the party route, but I was always far too shy. You know I don't like parties, I said now. Can't I just have a birthday tea? We could turn it into a little party, said Mum. We could ask those 3 poor little moppets. I bet they've never ever been to a party in their lives. Think how they'd love it. I imagined Zeph jumping up and down for musical bumps, Sakura delicately opening a parcel, Dan with trifle all round his mouth, and I couldn't help smiling. All right, if it's just them, I said. Don't you want that Harley to come too, said Mum. I swallowed. I don't think he'd want to come to a party, I said. Rubbish, said Jodie. He'd want to come to your party, Pearl. OK, so your party guests are the 3 littlies and long tall Harley and me. Do I get to invite someone too? It depends, said Mum. Who do you want to invite? Not that Miss French and her wretched dog. Jodie spluttered. Well, you've got very thick with her. I dare say she's a perfectly nice lady, but she's a bit full of herself, if you ask me. And I'm not having that Shep. He'll wreck the place. And anyway, Pearl's frightened of him. I don't want old Shep or old Frenchie, said Jodie. Don't call her that. Why not? Everyone else does. No. I was thinking, how about Jed? Mum blinked. What? No, don't be silly. You're definitely not asking him. Why not? He's ever so nice. He's teaching me how to garden, him and Mr. Wilberforce. You stay away from that Jed, Jodie. He looks a wild lad. I'm not having you hanging around boys like that. Now, stop the nonsense. This is Pearl's party, not yours. Jodie pulled her face at Mum and turned her back on both of us. Pearl, 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 Pearl. It's always Pearl's party, she muttered. I stared at the hunch of her shoulder, astonished. No, it's not. Look, I don't want a party. I won't have one, OK? I said. Now look what you've done, Jodie, said Mum. You should feel thoroughly ashamed of yourself, trying to spoil things for Pearl. You should count yourself lucky you've got such a dear little sister. Now, up you get, both of you. Breakfast in 20 minutes. Thank you for the curtains, Mum, I said, and the lovely fluffy black rug. You're welcome, pet, said Mum, bustling out the room. Creep, Jodie muttered. I know, but it was nice of her. Jodie, I really don't want a party. I know, I'm not really fussed. I was just winding Mum up. But it'll be fine. We'll make it a lovely party for Zeph and Sakura and Dan, and Harley will be cool about it. He likes little kids. He likes you, doesn't he? Do you think he thinks about me as if I'm that little? I asked. Yes. No, I don't know. What about Jed? Do you think he thinks I'm a little kid? Said Jodie. I hope he does, I said. Jodie, if you really want to ask Jed to come, I could ask Mum again. No, she'd never budge on that one. And can you really see Jed at a children's party? Jodie jumped out of bed grinning at me. Maybe Jed and I will have our own private party. She started doing a sexy dance, running her fingers up and down her own arms and twitching her lips. You're so bad. Hey, teach me how to dance like that. I jumped out of bed too and did my best to copy her, narrowing my eyes and pursing my lips in an effort to look sultry. You look like a short-sighted goldfish, said Jodie, rocking with laughter. At breakfast time, she told Zeph and Sakura and Dan that I was having a party. I'm maybe having a party, I said. I might not really want one. Why wouldn't you want a party, said Zeph. Will you have lots to eat? I expect so. I'll wear my party dress, said Sakura. Do I like parties? Dan said cautiously. Maybe. I don't like them that much, said Harley, from up at the other end of the bench. Oh, I said, all my cornflakes squeezing tight into a soggy lump in my tummy. You'll love parties, Dan, said Jodie, and you'll have to come to Pearl's party whether you want to or not, Harley, otherwise she'll sulk big time. No, I won't, I said. You don't have to come, Harley. But you will, won't you? Said Jodie. Maybe, said Harley. He winked at Sakura. So long as I can wear my party dress. Sakura looked startled. Zeph and Dan roared with laughter. Sakura started giggling too, her hands over her mouth. The three of them collapsed against each other on the bench, chortling. Oh well, we won't need to hire a clown, not if we've got Harley here on tap, said Jodie. Has he really got a party dress? Sakura asked me when she'd stopped giggling. Probably not, I said. I've really got a party dress, Sakura confided. Yes, I know. You were wearing it yesterday, I said. That wasn't my party dress, she said, giggling again. My party dress is much, much prettier. Do you want to see it? I'll show you. She slipped her hand into mine. All right, I said. Though, are you allowed? Of course she's allowed, said Jodie. I want to see this dress too. We got up off the bench together. Miss Ponsonby stood up over the top table. You're not running off, are you, Sakura? We're going to make our special raffia baskets today, she said. I don't want to make a silly girl's basket, said Zeph. Can I come with you too? Me too, said Dan. Miss Ponsonby frowned. We're just going to see Sakura's dress, Miss Ponsonby. We'll bring everyone back in 10 minutes tops, Jodie said, smiling. You can relax and have another cup of tea. Now, there's an offer you can't refuse, said Mr. Wilberforce, eating one of Mum's sausages with great relish. So, you're a teacher's assistant and a general childminder today, young Jodie. You're proving a very versatile member of the Melchester community. You're also a gardener and a dog walker. I hope you'll take old Shep for another walk this afternoon, Jodie. He's so much better behaved if he's had some really good exercise. I'm useless. I get worn out long before he does, said Miss French. Of course I'll walk him, said Jodie. She glanced at Jed. And I can help out with any gardening stuff if you like. Any odd job you get bored with. I love gardening. Jed raised his eyebrows at her, looked amused. Mr. Wilberforce was most enthusiastic. Do come and help, my dear. There's always heaps to do. Jed and I do our best, but the grounds are determined to revert to wilderness. Even the formal garden is a disgrace this year. The lawn especially. He sighed. Don't look at me, said Jed. There's not much point trying to mow it into nice neat stripes when those blooming badgers have been burrowing. Pesky vermin. You should let me put poison down. I stiffened. I forgot to be shy. You can't poison badgers. They're lovely animals, I said. She's right, said Harley, behind me. Morally and indeed legally. It's totally against the law to kill a badger. You'd be prosecuted and severely fined. You're just a silly towny kid, said Jed contemptuously. No point getting all sentimental over badgers. They burrow all over the shop and they spread TB amongst your cattle. I think you'll find that's heavily disputed, said Harley. In fact, some experts think it's the cattle that give the badgers TB. Toffee-nosed twit, Jed said softly to Harley, turning his head so that Mr. Wilberforce couldn't hear. Come on, Sakura, lead the way, said Jodie hurriedly. We walked out with all three little ones. Harley loped along too, his fists clenched. Did you hear what he called me? He said. No, I lied tactfully. He called you a toffee-nosed twit, said Jodie, thinking she was being helpful. Nothing to get too steamed up about. What? I'm so steaming I'm boiling. He didn't mean it. Or even if he did, so what? You are toffee-nosed, Harley. No one could talk posher than you. And you deliberately act like a twit half the time, you must admit. Thanks a bunch, said Harley. So I take it you actually like Jed, the badger baiter, Jodie. I think that makes you a bit of a twit. Nonsense. He isn't a badger baiter. Badger poisoner, then. You've got these really big ears, Harley. Don't you ever use them? He said he'd like to poison them. He didn't say he really would. He was just winding you up. He's the guy who does all the real work in the gardens, and Mr. Wilberforce just takes it for granted. But the moment you and I mosey along and cut off a few fiddly little branches, Mr. Wilberforce does his nut praising us. Of course, we're going to pee him off royally." "You don't. He seems quite smitten with you," said Harley. "Really?" said Jodie delightedly. "Really," said Zeph, imitating her. She picked him up by the armpits and whirled him around and round until he squealed. Then she gave Sakura a twister, then Dan. I remembered when I was little enough to have Jodie whirl me around. I couldn't be cross with her for sticking up for Jed, even though I disliked him more than ever now. I glanced at Harley, who was still stalking along, flushed in the face. "Stop huffing and puffing about Jed, Harley," said Jodie. "Come on, lighten up." We went along the path, past the spot where our own badgers were hiding in their woodland set. At least they were safe from horrible Jed. Harley glanced at me and we nodded significantly. We walked on, the children hopping around and around us, past the Wilberforce's bungalow. Mrs. Wilberforce was sitting in the window peering out. She was wearing a flowing purple dress, her hair long and loose so that she looked like a faded fairy tale princess. I felt anxious because I hadn't been to visit her yet. It wasn't exactly that I didn't want to go. I kept thinking about all those lovely old leather-bound books. I'd finished The Secret Garden and badly wanted to borrow another book, but I felt stupidly shy of going to see Mrs. Wilberforce by myself. I ducked my head as we walked past, but I could see out of the corner of my eye that she was waving. I half raised my arm awkwardly, as if I was hailing a taxi. Zeph saw me and peered around. "You're waving at that spooky lady," he said, astonished. "She's not a spooky lady," I said. "She's Mrs. Wilberforce, Mr. Wilberforce's wife." "She's ever so spooky. She can't walk or talk," said Dan. "That's silly. She can speak perfectly. She just has to use a wheelchair because she got hurt," I said. "Who hurt her?" said Sakura. "She hurt herself," said Jodie. "She was crossed in love, jilted on her wedding day. And so she climbed the steps to the tower, and at midnight she gave one last hopeless howl and cast herself out of the tower window, down, 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 tumbling over and over in the air, her nightgown billowing. She should have been smashed to pieces on the hard flagstones below, but see, her long hair, well, it got caught up in all the ivy and her neck snapped. She dangled there helplessly until they cut her down. She couldn't struggle because her arms and legs wouldn't work anymore, and ever since she's been like a poor, sad, broken doll." Zeph and Sakura and Dan were all stopped in their tracks, open-mouthed. "Stop it, Jodie. They're only little. They'll believe it," I said. Though she told it so vividly, I saw Mrs. Wilberforce falling too, long hair flying down and down. "We won't hurt ourselves, will we?" said Sakura. "Only if you go up in the tower. Then you might find yourself irresistibly pulled to the window, and you wouldn't be able to stop yourself. You'd step out into thin air and then—" "Don't listen to her, Sakura," I said, putting my hands over the little girl's ears. Her hair was very thick and silky, soft under my fingers. "She's telling stories, isn't she?" said Zeph. "You can't get up into the tower." "That's what you think," said Jodie. "I might find a way." We'd come to twin two-story houses now, mirror images of each other, with white stucco walls and black window frames and bright red doors, with green rectangles of grass in front. All they needed was a smiley sun and a stripe of blue sky up above, and they'd look as if they were painted by a giant child. "That's the girl's house," said Sakura, pointing to the nearest one. "And that's the boy's one." "Oh, rats," said Jodie. "I hoped one would be painted pink and one blue." "My party dress is red and gold," said Sakura. "Come and see." We all trooped into the girl's house, even Harley and Zeph and Dan. "Though we're not allowed," said Dan. "The big girls chase us out if we go in there." "They won't chase me," said Zeph, strutting about. "We're not scared of any silly old girls, are we, Harley?" "I'm very scared of girls," said Harley. "Jodie's dead scary. What, she doesn't kick you with her high heels, and Pearl can pack a hefty punch. But Sakura's the most scary. Watch out for her karate. She'll go whack, whack, and chop you into little bits, won't you, Sakura?" Sakura doubled up laughing, her hands over her mouth. "You're so silly, Harley," she said. She led us to the little girl's dormitory on the ground floor. All the beds were stripped and empty apart from Sakura's at the end, by the far door. "That's Undy's room," she said. "She keeps her door open when it's just her and me, so I can hear her going snore, 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 so I don't get scared." Sakura had dolls and teddies lying in complicated cuddles all over her red duvet. There were so many, there didn't look as if there would be so much room for Sakura herself. Zeph picked up a doll in each hand, made them do karate with each other. Dan purloined a baby doll and pulled her knickers off to see if she had a real bottom. Sakura looked understandably anxious. "Put the dolls back, boys. They're not yours, they're Sakura's," I said. They didn't take any notice. Hey, Zeph, I'll karate chop you if you don't watch out," said Jodie, miming. "And as for you, Dan, the man, watch out or I'll whip your trousers down and see if you've got a real bottom." All three shrieked at us. The boys threw the dolls back on Sakura's bed. She patted them into place, nodding at Jodie gratefully. Come on then, party girl, show us your dress, said Jodie. Sakura went to her wardrobe and carefully shuffled through the little outfits. I already had a smile on my face, ready to reassure her that her dress was lovely, though I was sure it was going to be as strange and old-fashioned as her day clothes. But it wasn't really a dress as such. It was a real Japanese gown in red silk, patterned all over with pale cherry blossom and tied with a wide gold brocade sash. Oh, it's beautiful, I said. Fantastic, said Jodie. Much prettier than my party dress, said Harley. Sakura beamed. See the cherry blossom, she said. That's what Sakura means in Japanese. You'll be the star of the party, Sakura. Apart from the birthday girl herself, said Harley. No, you'll be the star in your party frock, said Jodie. Come on then, let's see it. Is it hanging in your wardrobe? Show us where you guys hang out. The boys' house was pretty similar to the girls'. Apparently Zeph and Dan were usually in different dormitories, but they'd been put next to each other for company during the holidays. What about you, Harley, said Jodie. You can't tell me you fit into one of those dinky little beds. Harley sleeps upstairs with the big boys, said Dan. He's got the big special bed. Oh, let's see, said Jodie. We were both imagining a ridiculously elongated cartoon bed the length of the entire dormitory. It was a bit disappointing to see that Harley's bed was just an average, full-size single bed. His navy-striped duvet neatly patted into place. There was a teddy bear lying on his pillow, furry limbs stretched out with a straw hat over his face, as if he was having a snooze in the sun. Has he got a party dress, Harley? Said Sakura. No, he hasn't got a party outfit, Sakura. Maybe we could make him one. He'd love a beautiful red Japanese dress just like yours. Maybe we could find a silky scarf and wrap it around him with some ribbons, said Sakura. Good idea. I'll need some help, though. Are you any good at sewing? I'm not allowed needles and sharp scissors yet, said Sakura. Undy says I might hurt myself. So what about you, Pearl? You'll help me, won't you? I nodded at Harley uncertainly, not sure if this was all a joke or not. Jodie was more forthright. Is the teddy really yours? Are you totally retarded? I'm just an emotionally deprived child who's languished unloved in too many boarding schools, said Harley. I need my little ursine companion. Even Pearl stopped playing with her soppy little teddies, said Jodie, shaking her head at him. I still have them sitting by my bed, I said. What are their names? Edgar Allan and Poe. Cool names. So, you like reading Edgar Allan Poe? Said Harley, sounding very impressed. No, I just saw his name on a book in the library, I admitted, shamefaced. Nothing wrong with appropriating a name, though it can obviously backfire on you. My bear is called Mr. Rigby Peller, which is actually the name of the shop where my ma gets her underwear. I saw the name on a fancy carrier bag and thought it would be splendid for the bear I'd just been given for my 5th birthday. I christened him privately with a bottle of Evian water, and we were packed off to boarding school together. I told the other boys his name very proudly, thinking it utterly distinguished, and a cut above all their Eddies and Freddies. But one unpleasant older boy bellowed with laughter and said that was the label on his mother's push-up bra. Rigby Peller and I became the school laughingstock after that. I was touched by his story, though. I wasn't sure if he was making it all up. Jodie simply laughed at him. No wonder, you pathetic little diddum, she said. Come on then, show us this party dress. She flung open his wardrobe and started clicking his coat hangers along the rack, rubbishing his long limp trousers and jeans and jackets. Stop it, Jodie, don't be so rude, I said fiercely. I pushed her hard, slamming the wardrobe door shut so she nearly got her fingers trapped. Oh, temper, she said, laughing. Come on then, let's get back or Miss Poncy will be getting seriously knocked. I wanted to stay longer and look at the books on Harley's shelves. I could see adult books on astronomy and psychology and art and natural history, but there were also old children's stories, The Wind in the Willows, Treasure Island, several William books, his Dark Materials, all the Harry Potters, all the Narnia stories, lots of E. Nesbits, even an Alice in Wonderland. I badly wanted to browse and see which were well thumbed. It would be like peeping into Harley's head. But Jodie had Zeph and Dan by the hand and was already down the length of the dormitory and out of the door. Sakura was trooping after them, looking back at me anxiously. Just coming, Sakura, I said, still squatting by the bookshelf. I looked up at Harley. He looked down at me. We can always come back this afternoon so you can look at my books, Pearl, without the entourage. Thanks, I whispered. Come on, Pearl, Jodie called sharply. Why do you let her boss you about so? Said Harley. She doesn't really boss, I said. Yes, she does. Well, she just looks after me because I'm her sister. Yes, but you're not a little kid anymore. You don't have to do what Jodie says. You don't understand. You haven't got a big sister. I'm very glad I haven't got a big sister like Jodie, said Harley.